action for another day of the week. Welcome to another edition of Chasing That Paper presented by VegasInsider.com, and it is game day, baby. Representing my 3-0 Miami Dolphins. Big game tonight, Thursday Night Football in Cincinnati. We're going to be all over this game. 6 total picks from myself and my very special co-host for today, making his Chasing That Paper debut from the Action Network. Let's bring in my guy, Gilles Gallant. Gentleman, Gilles Gallant, the classiest man in sports betting. There he is. So, Gilles, before we get right into the action here, this must be a bit of a career highlight for you, making your debut on the program here. So bring the viewers inside your mind, inside your heart. How does it feel to be on Chasing That Paper?
It feels pretty good. I mean, the roles are definitely reversed. I don't think I've been on your show since the tail end of 2020, and you've been a guest on my show a few times now. So the roles are definitely reversed, and quite frankly, I think I could die happy now.
Absolutely. If you don't follow Gilles on Twitter, make sure you are doing so at GDawg5000. That is GDAWG5000. This man is the king of touchdown scoring props, and he has 3 for you for this big game tonight. So enough small talk here, Gilles. Let's get right into the action. 6 total picks for Thursday Night Football. I'm going to hit lead off. We got the Dolphins. We got the Bengals getting after it in Cincinnati here. My best bet for this game, I like over 48 total points. So we all know the story of this Dolphins defense, right? My question is, how gassed are they going to be? They were on the field in that heat and humidity for 90 plays just 4 days ago. I think it's fair to assume that they're not going to be at 100% here. As for the Bengals defense, they've played an extremely easy schedule so far, a cupcake schedule, if you will. So pump the brakes on any type of praise for them. They've played Trubisky, Cooper Rush, and Joe Flacco. Give me a break. Now they got a Dolphins team that's tied for second in yards per play this season. Of course, explosive playmakers on both offense. If you know anything about football, you don't need me to list them off, so I won't. And these teams keep the ball moving. Each offense is converting on third down, 4th and 8th and third down conversion percent. So I like a lot of points in this one, so that bodes well for our props tonight. So, Gilles, you have 3 touchdown props here. Get us started with your first one for tonight.
Yeah, and I think it bodes well for the over here. I really like what you kind of brought up there about how the defense is going to be pretty gassed. But I honestly think that the Bengals defense is a little bit overhyped. So the first pick I'm going to take is I was able to get Tyreek Hill for an anytime touchdown at plus 160. And I'm still seeing his odds hovering around the plus 120 range. And I really think that the touchdown value on Hill has been kind of varied for the season. A bit of a head scratcher. Like last season, for reference, I track the touchdown scorer odds for anytime touchdowns. I've been doing it for a few years now. And last year with the Chiefs, Tyreek Hill had a minus 120 odds at best for an anytime touchdown. And even just last week versus Buffalo, he was plus 105. So getting a little bit of more value here. I'm not really in love with Tua as a quarterback. I know that's sacrilege to say on this type of show.
Come on, man.
But I do think, I know, but hear me out here. It's hard to argue with the numbers that we've seen right now on the deep passing. That was kind of the biggest take on him, is that, he's going to short hop it to Tyreek Hill every time he throws it. Well, passes of 20 yards or more so far this season, he ranks 2nd for completion percentage. He's 2nd in total completions of over 20 yards or more with 9, and he's got 3 passing touchdowns in that circumstance. And I think another thing, too, if you're just looking for more of a narrative angle, the Tyreek Hill, Eli Hill matchup, I think has been getting a lot of press coming into this matchup. It might be a little too much attention if we're being honest, but Tua did say at a press conference that if there's one-on-one coverage between the two, he's going to Tyreek Hill. And the fact that you're able to get Tyreek Hill at plus odds in really any circumstance, I think is a nice piece of value here. So Tyreek Hill, anytime touchdown, is my first pick for Thursday Night Football.
Eli Apple about to get his ass lit up by Tyreek here tonight. Okay, so from one big-time wide receiver to another, one of my favorite props here for tonight, I like Jamar Chase to go over 24.5 yards for his longest reception here this evening. So I think that this is the perfect game for a breakout for Jamar Chase. A bit of a slow start this season. He's only topped 100 total receiving yards in one of the 3 games. But look at what he did last year. He was 4th in catches of over 20 yards, 2nd in catches of over 40 yards. This is his bread and butter. The opportunity is going to be there, tied for the NFL lead in targets with 35. And the Dolphins, this is a good opponent to go off against, unfortunately for me, but they're getting beat by a lot of long passes. Diggs and Isaiah McKenzie went over this number just on Sunday, as did 4 separate receivers for the Baltimore Ravens. So I like Chase to at least break one big one here tonight. Jill, who do you like for your second touchdown scorer here for this evening?
Yeah, before I go, I just wanted to talk about how Jamar Chase, if you're going to be betting him tonight, I think the best value is looking at the long reception props or even the yardage props as opposed to the touchdown props. Right now for touchdown for Jamar Chase, you're looking at minus 120 maybe at best. So I think it's good to look at those kind of props instead. But we're going to be sticking with the Dolphins for a touchdown prop. We're actually going to be taking Tyreek Hill's teammate. We're taking Jalen Waddle, and I was able to get that at plus 175, still seeing it around plus 150 at some books. I would still take a look at that because he leads the team in targets, receiving yards, and red zone targets. It's really hard to lead all of those categories on one team unless you're a guy named Cooper Kupp. He's top 10 in overall targets as well. And we've seen him score both in like the short range on like bubble screens, and we've seen him score long touchdowns like he did in week 1 against the Patriots. One of the stats that a former colleague of mine, Matthew Friedman, brought up is a stat called air yak, which is basically air yards and yards after catch as a combined stat. Now, Chris Olave with the Saints is first, but Jalen Waddle is second right now in that category this season, just showing like how versatile he is. And I mean, Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think a case could be made that Jalen Waddle is the best Dolphins wide receiver right now, not Tyreek Hill.
Well, yeah, it's a good debate, and he absolutely has that chemistry with Tua going back to, of course, last season, where he had all those receptions. And Alabama. Full Tide, baby. I'm not going to pretend I'm an Alabama fan.
Oh, you're a big Saban guy.
Dude, I can't. Nick Saban, the ironic thing about this, his connection to the Miami Dolphins. He completely screwed them over once upon a time. With Culpepper over Breeze. He blames the doctor on that. Okay, my third and final bet of the night here. I'm going to take Joe Mixon to go over 20.5 receiving yards in this game. So check this out. Mixon has been heavily involved in the passing game so far this season for the Cincinnati Bengals. 20 total targets. That puts him too short of the league lead for running backs behind Austin Eckler. He's averaging 34.3 receiving yards per game, games of 63, 26, and 14, so he's gone over this in 2 of 3. And the Dolphins are getting beat by running backs in the passing game, the 6th most receiving yards allowed to opposing backs. They got absolutely eviscerated by Devin Singletary there on Sunday, so I like Mixon to get involved in the receiving game here and go over that 20.5. So G-Dog, bring it home for us. What is your third and final pick for Thursday?
I wanted to also for sure. And I also wanted to bring up, Joe, that if you're looking for a little bit more value on the Mixon prop, his receiving prop line right now is over 3.5 catches over under. And the over is at plus money. And right now he's second in the NFL for all running backs and targets. So I think it's worth a look. Like, for example, he had 7 targets last week. He only had 3 catches. But again, it's just difficult to find that kind of volume for a running back, especially in this type of passing offense. But instead of taking a Bengals touchdown scorer, Joe, we're actually going to take a little bit of a negatron bet here. We're going to be taking Joe Burrow, but we're going to take him to throw an interception at plus 110, and I would only bet it at plus money. Now, Burrow has 23 interceptions in 29 career NFL games. That's excluding playoffs. But he throws so much, Joe, that it's really hard to pass on a prop like this because it's plus money. Like last season, in 16 games, he threw 14 picks. And last season, he was only averaging around 32 pass attempts per game. Whereas this season, a little bit inflated from game 1, but this season he's gone over that number each time. He's averaging around 40 pass attempts per game. And the Dolphins defense, I think you know this just as well as anybody, is very opportunistic defense. So I like my chances here, especially because I think they can get a lot of pressure on this offensive line. Joe Burrow, for example, been sacked 15 times in 3 games. If they get into his kitchen and he starts having to make quick decisions like that, we could definitely see an interception. So I love that as Burrow to throw a pick tonight on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, the Dolphins have some serious playmakers on the defensive side of the football, so I could see him getting that pressure, making him get the ball out a little bit quicker than he wants to tonight. So I absolutely love that, and I love those stats. So that is 6 total bets from Gilles and I for the Thursday night football game. And if you're looking for a place to place these bets at, I recommend placing them over at BetMGM. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Kick off the pro football season with the king of sportsbooks. Sign up with BetMGM using bonus code VIBonus50, and you'll receive $50 free on sign up and a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's VI bonus 50, all one word, no spaces, and your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. BetMGM, the king of sports books.
Woo!
Yeah. Who else is putting that much enthusiasm into their BetMGM sponsorship read out there? There's probably a few out there, but
nobody sells it like you do. Nobody sells it like you. So I think we have to concede right now that the energy belongs to you.
100%. So I got to ask you, you are the king of touchdown scoring props. That's your number one focus over at the Action Network. A lot of people with the touchdown scorer props, I find they're just throwing darts. Like, I've got a gut feeling this guy is going to get into the end zone tonight. So what is your process? Bring us through this very quickly. Obviously, the value is going to have a lot to do with it. You don't want to bet guys at the negative odds. But in terms of handicapping, what are you looking at? What's like the number one thing? Red zone targets?
Well, I would actually say stats is probably third in my criteria. The way that I look at it first is I like to look at odds first, then I look at the matchup, then I look at the overall recent stats, because the odds can tell you a big story about the way that they're being bet, the way that they're being focused into this offense. Sportsbooks have a pretty good read on the way that offenses work too. And I like to look at value a lot. So if a Jamar Chase, for example, perfect example right now, he's at minus 110 tonight. But if you just look at kind of the different games, if you're able to see maybe his odds maybe in the plus 120, plus 130 range, and being able to see like, wow, you're getting a little bit of value here, even though he's a legit wide receiver one. Whereas if you're looking at a guy like maybe trying to find an odds discrepancy, like tight end two, like Mitchell Wilcox or something like that, who you've seen at some books where he's like 25-1 as tight end two, but then some books you see him as low as plus 400. So maybe you want to jump in every once in a while, maybe throw a little sprinkle on a guy like that just because of an odds discrepancy, because shopping around for these props is so huge. Another thing that I tend to avoid, I don't bet guys or straight bet guys with minus odds. Right now, they're hitting around 37% for the season. Cooper Kupp is the only one that's actually scored all 3 weeks as a minus odds player each week. So those are the kinds of things that I factor in. Of course, red zone targets, of course, target snap counts. There's lots of different stats that you can basically equate, but really the odds is the one that will tell you the story.
Okay, so there you have it, a lesson in touchdown scoring prop handicapping from the king of that. So let's take a look at a couple teams here headed into week 4, Gilles. You see certain fan bases, some Miami Dolphins fans, myself a little bit, victory lapping a little bit. We still got a long way to go here. So there's some overreactions, maybe some underreactions in certain situations. So let's play a little game of selling high and buying low. So I'm going to give you 3 teams here that are off to a pretty good starts, maybe surprising a little bit. The Miami Dolphins would fall into this category, of course. I don't think a lot of people have them starting 3-0, especially beating the favorite to win the Super Bowl. So between the Dolphins, the Eagles, who played good, but it's been pretty weak competition to be fair, and the Jaguars at 2-1, are you selling high on either of those 3 teams?
So I feel like I'm going to get kicked off the show, or at least never be invited back on the show if I say selling high on the Dolphins. But I want to just say that I am a little worried about the Dolphins just as far as them maybe going like 12-5 for the year, just because of Tua's health. I feel like he's getting banged up every week, and it's just very concerning because it's such a huge drop off from Tua to Teddy Bridgewater, which again is just a crazy thing to say out loud if you even just said that even 12 months ago. So I would probably sell high on the Dolphins. I'm not going to sell high on the Eagles yet right now, just because their offensive line and defensive line has just been solid. It's probably the best combination in the NFL. So I think they're right around where they need to be. But I'm kind of liking the Jaguars. I took Doug Peterson before the season started for Coach of the Year. Right now, he's made me look good just through 3 games, and they've been kicking ass. Like, you know what I mean? In 2 of the 3 weeks, they probably should have beat the Commanders in week 1. So right now, I'm going to probably buy low on the Jaguars, even though I think their price is actually a little inflated now because of those wins.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the Dolphins, here's my kind of counterpoint to that. And I know I'm a total homer here, but this schedule
Wearing the hat.
coming up. Wearing the hat, got the helmet in the background, the license plate that says #1 fan back there. But check this out. So the Bengals, this might be a bit of a write-off game for them, considering the situation they're in. Short rest, traveling, defense on the field for 90 plays, whatever. I think that they can be competitive in this game. But then they got the Jets, they got the Vikings and Steelers at home. The Steelers stink. Who knows about the Vikings? Go on the road for Detroit and Chicago, then Cleveland, then a bye, then Houston. So that looks like worst case scenario, 5-3 over that span, which would get them to 8-3 to that point of the season. If you get to 10 wins, pretty good shot that they can get into the playoffs. So yeah, I know what you mean though. Like a lot of people, you're seeing the power rankings come out on ESPN and stuff, and you're seeing people rank the Dolphins #1 overall. I don't quite know about that yet. We got a long way to go. And as for the Jaguars, yeah, you can't really. People will try to discount them a little bit because of those past 2 wins. They shut out the Colts. They beat the shit out of the Chargers. Both teams riddled with injuries, but that's not the fault of the Jaguars, and they beat the shit out of those teams. So let's see how they do in Philadelphia. That's going to be a nice test for both of those teams. Okay, how about buying low? A couple teams here off to kind of disappointing starts to the season. We have the 49ers at 1-2, 2 separate games where they only scored 10 points. Their only win is at home versus the Seahawks. Congratulations to that. Then we have the Chargers. Chargers doing Charger things already. 1-2 start for them. A lot of injuries. Herbert on the field when he probably shouldn't have been. And the Saints, who are kind of like on the fringe of playoff contention in most people's mind entering the season. 1-2 as well. Couple ugly losses for them, though. So are you buying low on the 49ers, Saints, or Chargers?
I think the Niners for sure, because I just think that there's still a lot of talent on that team. Jimmy Garoppolo will make that one mistake per game, but overall, he's a fairly efficient quarterback. I almost want to take week 1 as an anomaly against Chicago because that was a monsoon game. And then week 3, Denver's defense is pretty good. I just think that was just kind of, I don't want to call it an anomaly, but I definitely would say it's a little bit concerning, but not enough where I would just completely talk myself off of San Francisco because they have so much talent everywhere. The Chargers, I'm ready to bury them. Like, they're just too many injuries. I'm just a little worried about, Herbert's ribs and whether or not they can play through that, and just the recurring injuries that keep seeming to happen, like with a Keenan Allen, for example. I think they could still finish with 9 to 10 wins, but it's just such an uphill battle when you're losing so many guys on defense. And then like Rashawn Slater at left tackle, Corey Linsley is still a little bit banged up. So I'm going to be probably passing on the Chargers for now. And the Saints, I mean, I had them to make the playoffs at the start of the season, but through 3 weeks, it's just been difficult to trust Jameis Winston not to make those critical mistakes. Again, another team similar to the 49ers, a lot of talent across the board. But right now, I think out of those 3, I think San Francisco is the only one that I can legitimately feel good about going forward.
Follow-up question. Are we sure Kyle Shanahan's a good coach? They've had a losing record in 3 of the 5 seasons where he's been the coach of that team. And a lot of excuses with injuries and the quarterback position. They have injuries again. Their best offensive lineman is going to be out for a couple of weeks now. So I don't know about the 49ers, man. A lot of excuses there. So what are your thoughts on Shanahan overall? Is he a good top-tier coach in the NFL?
I think he's a good offensive schemer. Like, I think he can pretty much make any running back into what looks like a top 5 running back week to week. And I think he's been effective at that pretty much his entire career, both as an assistant and a lead. But yeah, outside of that Super Bowl run, and then obviously last year when they went to the NFC Championship game, which required them to kind of go on a nice little second half run, we haven't seen a lot of positive spots from Shanny's offenses and just the overall team as a whole. So I'm not ready to write them off. I feel like their defense and their defensive line, I'm a big fan of Nick Bosa, for example. I just think that they're way too effective. That will keep them in games, plus their run game being able to control the clock. I think the jury is still out, though, whether or not I'm going to just say that Shanahan is a good coach. I think he's great at planning offensive schemes. I'm not sure overall if he's the total package.
A lot of excuses for this 49ers team.
Jimmy I keep doing them too. I keep making excuses.
An absolutely abysmal game by him with the safety. He threw a horrible interception. A lot of people excuse, well, he didn't have much of a training camp. No one was saying that the week before when they beat the Seahawks. So I don't know about you 49ers. Okay, so if you love what we do here at Vegas Insider, you're going to want to check out the Vegas Insider app. We've got up-to-date, easy-to-navigate odds for every major sport. We have all our latest shows, best bet videos, and podcasts, props, trends, futures, news, all on the Vegas Insider app. Download the Vegas Insider app right now on Apple and Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. G-Dog, I'm going to get you to weigh in really quickly here. Of course, a big story in the sports world. Aaron Judge tied the American League record for most home runs in a single season with 61. I think Major League Baseball's taken a real chicken shit approach to this. They're celebrating this as if it's the American League record. I think, who do you recognize as the single season home run record holder in Major League Baseball?
Barry Bonds. I'm pro juice. And part of the reason is because those were the rules back then. Like, as in, there were no rules. Like, I literally watched the McGwire Sosa doc, the 30 for 31 just recently, and Mark McGwire put it out succinctly. There were no testing and there were no rules against it. So everybody was like, I don't want to call it an equal playing field, but it pretty much was, and I think people are naive to think that it was only just this handful of guys who were taking it and were successful with it. So for me, I still recognize Bonds. I feel like he should be in the Hall of Fame at this point. I think a lot of guys should be in the Hall of Fame at this point, from those, the witch hunts that came in the late 2000s. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I still recognize Bonds, but that doesn't mean that I won't celebrate Judge if he gets to 62. I'll still say, he hit more home runs than Maris. He still hit more home runs than Babe Ruth. That's still an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, Bonds technically didn't break the rules. And last time I checked, I don't remember him getting suspended at any point for steroid use. So 73 home runs until Major League Baseball comes out and says, hey, we're not recognizing this. If they put that in writing in stone, that has to be recognized as a single season record. You don't have to like it, but it is what it is. And that's fair. He was never suspended. He didn't technically break the rules. As stupid as that may sound, Barry Bonds is the home run king in Major League Baseball. Okay, G-Dog, winding down here, but not without taking a look at some picks from the CTP crew. Viewer picks. We got a couple for the Thursday Night Football game and one for Major League Baseball tonight. Luke Murphy, author Al Murphy. I wonder if he writes erotic fiction. Okay, he loves Higgins tonight to go over 62.5 receiving yards. He's hit this in his last two games and an 11 of 16. That's pretty good. He would have hit in week one, but got hurt and left the game. Since week one, 24.3% target share, tied for the team lead in receptions. What do we think, G-Dog? We got Higgins going over 62.5 tonight?
I like the yardage prop. I don't love the touchdown prop because right now, from a target share standpoint from the Bengals, Jamar Chase is bordering on Cooper Kupp level territory, Kupp Stafford levels of target share. So I feel like Higgins can get over the receiving errors, but once they get into the red zone, the numbers are clear. Chase is the preferred guy right now, and it's like 8-3 right now through 3 games as far as red zone targets. So that's why I like the yardage prop, but if anybody's considering the Higgins touchdown prop, it's kind of difficult for me to justify it at this point, especially when you're seeing prices, plus 110 to plus 140. So author L. Murphy, nice little pick there. I haven't read a book probably since R.L. Stein, maybe like junior high or something like that. So
goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to the movies as well. But yeah, I think the yardage prop, I think that's a solid look.
Right, next we have Jake weighing in. He likes Mostert anytime touchdown. Both Edmonds and he have the same amount of red zone carries, and Edmonds has scored on both, making it seem less close than it is. So we take a look at the odds right now. Mostert plus 235, Edmonds plus 175. So a bit of a value play, he thinks, maybe on Mostert. What do you think on that one, G-Dog?
I think for sure you have to consider one of these two if you think they're running in a touchdown. I don't think you can consider Tua, who's around like plus 400 or more because of the fact that his, just the injury wise, I just don't think that they're going to risk it where he's going to be running at the goal line. Now, I will say that Edmonds, to get a running back one at plus 175 is still pretty good value. I think my issue right now is I'm a little worried about if the Bengals are going to come out fast and come out hot. Maybe they go up 14-0 quickly, and then the Dolphins have to abandon the run altogether. So that would be my only concern. But right now, I still think Edmonds is the guy that you want over Mostert. But that's just me.
Hey, some rock solid takes. G-Dog there. And of course, we got to talk some walk props here on Chasing That Paper. Our guy Bet with Mikey. He's a walk prop better, a fellow walk prop better. I hit one last night. It was one of the only bet I hit last night, unfortunately. But he likes Eric Lauer, the Brewers, over 1.5 walks plus money. He's had 2+ walks in 8 of his last 10, 3+ walks in 6 of his last 10, and 3+ walks in 4 straight games. Facing a Marlins team that's walking 2.68 walks per game this season. Yeah, I've been on the Lauer walk over prop this season, so that looks like a pretty solid look from our guy Mikey there. So be sure to check that one out. So there we have it. Picks from the CTP crew. Hopefully a couple winners there, guys. It is now time for our Handicapper Heat Check presented by VegasInsider.com. Your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. Today we recognize Vince Akins, who can be found on Twitter at SBBreakers. Vince went 2-0 on Monday Night Football and is 23-8 for 74% this season. Save $10 on any of Vince's NFL packages by visiting the link in the description below. The $10 discount will be applied during checkout. That's your Handicapper Heat Check. Stay hot, betters. Okay. Gilles, you are a very busy man, and we're getting to the weekend here, week 4, starting today. So the floor is yours. Where can viewers of Chasing That Paper find your work, and what can they look forward to from you over the next couple of days here?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find all of my content at actionnetwork.com, and you can find all of my picks with the Action Network app. So if you download the app, you can follow me at GDog5000 and get my picks as soon as I post them, as opposed to when the content gets posted, both on the site and on social media. We've got Action Island tonight on the Action Network YouTube channel and with the Action Network account. We're going to be going over Thursday Night Football and building a nice little same game parlay. And then, of course, I host the Touchdown Show every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, where I give out my best touchdown bets for the 1 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Eastern slate. You can check that out on the Action Network YouTube channel, or you can follow me on Twitter at GDog5000. I will make sure to post all of the links so you can find it.
There we go. Absolutely. Check out my man. Give him a follow on Twitter. Check out all of his great content coming up with the Action Network here over the next couple days. So a lot coming up here at Vegas Insider as well. Of course, Down to the Wire with Kevin Rogers tonight right here on the Vegas Insider YouTube channel, 6 p.m. Eastern. You're going to want to check out our Twitter Spaces going off about an hour before kickoff. So follow Vegas Insider on Twitter to find that. And, of course, I'll be back tomorrow. Ian McMillan will be back with me. We went 6-0 on our picks last Friday, so we'll try to replicate that, our best bets for the NFL Week 4 Sunday game. So that's about it. We thank G-Dog for joining us. Not a home run appearance by him, a grand slam appearance on his debut here on Chasing That Paper. So we thank him for joining. We'll absolutely look to have him back again. To all the bettors out there, good luck with your bets tonight, unless you are fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper. Woo!